Hello and welcome back to a highly requested video, and that is for me to talk about decks. You obviously, guys, you miss my deck videos because look, there's a new update, obviously quite a few changes and quite a lot of things to sort of work on. And obviously new deck combinations that actually work better, less better. And you might have seen an abundance of these being deployed by the Russians, and that's what I'm going to be talking to you about today. A deck that includes this gorgeous engineering plane. By the way, swept wings are always cool. Any plane that's got swept wings is cool. I dare you to change my mind. I'll wait. But yeah, these 8 bombs are absolutely phenomenal, and the deck that is just absolutely classic. Well, I mean, I have called it the El-Classico. And it's just because Moto Coastal has been an absolute stable of Russian decks for a very, very long time. But then a few things happened and they made it slightly worse, borderline unusable. One of the reasons was, you know, the air power, etc. And anti-air defense, which of course is now sort of more or less working a lot better now. The infantry, the infinite supply, there was a lot of things that kept changing around, but here we are in this current state of the game, and I'm going to talk to you about why this good old classic deck is actually genuinely one of the best ones of all time. I've had quite a few battles with it and have, in all honesty, had a lot of fun with this deck. It just works so fantastically well in pretty much any situation. I'll start off with the strengths of it. Insanely good recon. You've got, okay, you do like, you can put in snipers, but we'll talk about that later. Insanely good recon, but like phenomenal. The best infantry in the game for sure. Best all round, especially the Morskaya Piechota, for example. Yeah, big weakness with the armor. Very, very, very strong support, of course, with these. Really good helicopters, really good air force. So honestly, there's really not a lot to dislike in this deck. And like I said, I'll put a video of a battle using it below. It's just really hard to go wrong. And now with the SSO being dropped in price as well, again, there's just an absolute huge incentive to get these in, apart from when they were 100 points. Obviously, in the CQB format, they don't work quite as well. But 35 points, it's absolutely worth it. Very cheap price as well right there. So yeah, cool. Without further ado, why don't we get into it? So first things first, as always, is the Recon tab. Now, for those who weren't using the Morskaya Razvedka, just for some reason they work so fantastically well at the close range mark. So 300 meters, this machine gun just annihilates infantry. It does really well, and you can't really, okay, it doesn't, so hold on. So let's just clarify, it's not going to be an RRC, no chance of that happening, but at close range, especially when it's doubled up with 2 of these squads, it is nigh unstoppable. Not only because you get obviously the RPG 27s, which is just absolutely great, especially for their price. They work fantastically well. The RPG 27s, obviously, when you get 8 of them, they're going to fire 2 at the same time. So APS is basically non-existent there as well. You get your nice stealth bonus, so it's a fantastic squad to do flanky, cheeky, beaky, sneaky, breaky. Now, I did mention, obviously, that the armor is a weakness, but what you do have to make up for it is an absolute abundance of bazookas, RPGs. You just have so many of them, and obviously, no surprises, the GRU is one of those squads that has these humongous, beefy RPG 28s that have 900 penetration and 10 damage. That is obviously the highest for any bazooka in the game, and it is just an absolute pleasure to see these get deployed. Now, again, you're going to notice a pattern here. On its own, this squad isn't going to win on its own against anything. This deck build is all about being interconnected very, very well. Obviously, very good infantry squad in and of itself. It is very capable. But it's not going to go toe to any any good infantry squads at all. But close range, it won't struggle to take out airborne next gen, which I'm seeing a lot less usage of, which is kind of weird these days. But anyway, obviously the RPG 28, it doesn't need an explanation. You only have 3 of them, but you only need 2 of them to hit. 2 solid hits, and that tank is pretty much good as gone. And of course a Verba, just because it is a perfect opening unit, perfect flank holding unit, and that is exactly how you should use the GRU in this configuration in the flank as an opener and a bit of a force multiplier, because it does again stack up and back up other units pretty well, but on its own only for the flanks, and even then I'd be kind of apprehensive. Having double Verbers is actually not the worst choice in the world. It's a little bit expensive, but when you put it in the context of double Iglas, for example, so let's just pin these up. So I'm not saying you should use this, but I'm saying it is a possible option. So obviously only 20 points difference, but what you get is a smoke, a much beefier, healthier, and the Verba, I don't know what it is, the Verba just tracks better than the Igla. It always does, always has, and probably always will. It's just better. I don't know if there's like a percentage hit chance on these that's not shown to us, but the Verbas, I feel like, is higher than the Iglas. So not only do you get, obviously for a very similar price, a much stronger Igla, but also you get a very tough squad, an 8-man stealthy Recon squad that has a smoke. Bear in mind that obviously your Verbers are going to be in the back line, so when you're getting overrun, this squad actually becomes quite good because it gives you that force multiplier and very strong anti-infantry capability. Of course, if there's any tanks that are overrunning your lines, you're fucked, but that's where you could opt to go for the RPG 28 overload option, so AT to a new extreme. But I find I don't need it, and I find it's just too much, just because, again, we're going to talk about force multipliers and complementary units, and I just have an absolute abundance of projectiles, RPGs, that I never really find the niche for this unit. This unit is great at jumping out next to a tank and ripping tanks apart, but now with the increased lethality, I feel like BTRs and their transports generally don't really get to go as up close and personal like they used to with the breakthroughs using the BTRs. So I honestly think that the combined loadout, which is obviously also super unique, it's the only squad in the game that has anti-tank and anti-helicopter, well, anti-air man-pads on it. So I just really love it, and obviously for 110 points I think it's very reasonable. I do think it used to be obviously be even more expensive. It used to be 130, 145. All these options are fantastic in their own right. You can absolutely, obviously, whenever I make these deck videos, I absolutely encourage you to try it and then to adapt it to your own playstyle. So obviously, if you prefer to be more up and personal with armor, then get yourself even more of these guys. If you actually like the idea of having this squad as a reserve that's very capable against helicopters, then absolutely use it like that. If you want these guys on the flank, or again as just a really all-rounder great support unit and opening unit, then use these by all means. So there we go, enough said about the GRU, we've covered it quite in depth there. Right, VMF, so I think I got to talk about the Diversante. I wish you could drag these guys to put them together, but anyway, Diversante and the VMF. Right, okay, again, no secret here, the RPG-30 is the only launcher that can ignore APS, which is phenomenal. And it's got very respectable damage, and also it does trigger the APS, so the APS will get triggered, but the projectile will still go through and do damage to the tank. Right, so the alternative option for the Diversante is this sniper configuration where you do get your 3 stealth and you get your 2 kilometers of vision. It's a very tough decision because I actually really love, again, when we're talking about combined arms and force multipliers, I love these RPG 30s. I think for 80 points, that's a banging price for them as well. It used to be the case that both of these loadouts were 100, but nobody was using ambushes because it does become just that little bit too expensive. But for 80 points, I'm actually going to prefer to use them like this. And obviously, if you do manage to get them in the back line or into an ambush position as they are designed to be, then you're going to be doing great. So why does that lead on to the Spetsnaz VMF? Well, the thing is, the only problem is when you do switch them from their sniper configuration, which obviously it's not really a sniper, it's of course a marksman rifle, just a recon team, you lose the laser. The Spetsnaz VMF, however, keep it no matter what you do, but definitely don't put them on fire support. That is way too expensive and the damage really isn't sufficient. These rifles should be 700 meters. I don't know why they're 600, that is a bit silly, but they're standardizing a lot of the weapons, which I see both sides, but ultimately I don't like. Don't do this, it's way too expensive and the damage just is nowhere near good enough. And when you go for the assault mode, you actually get a really good squad, really good firepower, which I do really enjoy. And these rifles aren't it, but this machine gun, which is a medium machine gun, but it's really cool. I mean, look at pictures of it. It looks like it's like a little rifle, to be honest, a rifle on steroids. And these SVU AS marksman rifles, all 7.62 as per, you know, classic Soviets design. And this squad is actually very capable against infantry. It'll wipe out, basically, at medium range, it'll wipe out quite a few hefty squads, with the exception of some dedicated CQB teams, like obviously Delta Rangers, Marine Raiders, of course. But at medium ranges, it performs exceptionally well. And for 70 points, it's a fairly good price. But obviously, the most important part of this squad is the fact that it's a laser designator, and we've lost our dearest Santa here, but you can also couple these up and you've got good anti-infantry, good anti-tank capabilities as well, so they do complement each other extremely well. The stuff is good, the smoke is good, the laser is what it's all about. But like I say, this squad, when we're using everything together, that's the name of the game, I'm going to repeat myself, it's a great force multiplier if you do choose to engage these guys, even though, again, ultimately, we're interested in a 70-point laser to get up in those buildings and spot those targets. It is a shame that I'm not going for the 2-kilometer range, but I think for 90 points, for this amount of firepower, I'd prefer these guys to be my lasers. But fret not, because whilst we've sacrificed a bit of vision here, we have got it here with the 2,400 meter range of optics from the PRP 5K, so basically a BTR with a camera on it. Now, this is actually quite a good vehicle. Not only is it dirt cheap, so that's cheaper than any sniper team. Obviously, super fast, can actually carry 4 people, so if you do want to stick Iglas or Cornets in there, then by all means, please do, or even the SPG-9 Sapog. Why not? A Sapog is a boot, like a Wellington boot, by the way. Fun fact, don't know why I threw that in there. It's actually a really good vehicle. 2,400 meters. The laser is obviously 3 kilometers, whereas infantry lasers are 2 kilometers. Huge difference, of course. And again, I can't emphasize how cheap this is. You could probably just happily stick 4 of these out. And the best part about them is when you go for these builds, look at the stealth value here. So for these two, even though obviously you do get the nice 30mm cannon, and that is a treat, it bumps up to 1.5 here, which makes it absolutely worthwhile. Now, I don't go for the armor for 2 reasons. Firstly, because it doesn't matter. This vehicle is not designed to be engaged at all. You want it as cheap as possible to be a really cheap set of eyes and ears. The respawn time is 6 minutes, so even if you lose both of them, it's not the end of the world. Like, you've still got plenty of recon, even though it's obviously not as highly visioned. You've still got plenty of fighting recon that can fill the gaps should you need to. Of course, you've got the Corsair, but that's not going to be on the front line. Also, it looks cool in orange. But yeah, so I won't worry about this too much. And you get a smoke regardless whether you get armor. So the smoke is ultimately what's going to save this. If you get caught by a non-Apache, so obviously Apache with Hellfires, fine, this will lose every time. So smoke is the only thing that can potentially save this vehicle, and there's really not much point in making it more expensive. Some players do, or did, not so much these days, just use this as a backline vehicle because it's still kept its 1.25 stuff, but obviously that is a thing of the past. Stick to this and thank me later. This is just a cheap transport. It's a cheap battlefield ambulance, that's all it is. 0.4 tons, remember 10 kilos to repair 1 infantryman, that's pretty good. So again, you can repair or revive 40 infantrymen. Of course, it also does the ammunition, so doesn't quite work that way, but you get the gist. Really cool vehicle, nice and cheap, good battlefield ambulance. The cord is actually pretty hefty for providing fire support, so that works really well too. We've touched upon the Corsair. I have decided to stick the thermal barracks on it just because, more than anything, like when you see a sniper, I'm not expecting this to actually kill the sniper, even though it is capable of. Most of the time it spots it whilst it's over the top, at which point these missiles might not hit because of the trajectory, etc., and the angles if you're directly above it. But this is so that when the missiles are fired, you know there's something in your back line. So when you check on this drone a little while later, you know, if you forget that it's checking your back line, these are actually really good triggers to say that, oh shit, there is something back there because these missiles were triggered and they fired. So good idea to check your back line again, is ultimately the purpose of these. But of course they are capable of doing some damage. Annoyingly, they don't do top armor attack, even though clearly it's fired from the air. Now, the most goated unit is, without a shadow of a doubt, the Kozlik. This Kozlik has probably got the highest KD for me in terms of points, because 45 points, dirt cheap unit, and the amount of damage you can do with this beefy KPVT is insane. The speed is insane as well. It's like the SAR map for the VDV, but much more effective because this gun is so much more effective. This gun is unreal. It will rip apart helicopters, it'll rip apart backline, RT, MLRS, you name it, without breaking a sweat. So really no concerns there. Again, shouldn't this be 900 meters because it's a more powerful weapon than the 50 cal? It's a 14.5 Dushka, isn't it? Yeah, so yeah, really great vehicle, honestly. Just for 45 points, just send them. Just try and find gaps in the enemy's front line. And if it breaks through, great. You're going to trade at least equally. If you don't break through, well, it was only 45 points. Who gives a shit? Yeah, so always absolutely worth just trying your luck with these bad boys and seeing where it gets you. If you don't want to try it with the Kozlik, then by all means try it with this BTR. Like, there's absolutely not really much harm in it. You just go for it. And of course, if you want to do it with a bit more vision as well, then just try it with this BTR. Like, absolutely no harm in doing it whatsoever. It is all up to you. It's only an extra 10 points, but you will miss out on the speed. And actually, it's kind of funny that with this speed, some launchers will miss. So especially if you're driving fast around a corner, the bazookas will miss this because of how fast it's driving. So yeah, pretty good too. And there we go. We're literally using all of the troops in our infantry tab, except from the PDSS. And the reason for that is there's just no room. No room in the end. It doesn't really achieve too much for me. It doesn't have a laser, so it's kind of pointless. Haven't put any BTR 90s, and the reason for that is because a lot of my squads are centered around 8 men, and this has only got 7 seats. I don't know why it's only 7 seats. Like, looks pretty much the same size as all the other BTRs, but yeah, you can't fit the regular squads in there, so it's a bit of a shame. Bear in mind, this BTR 90 used to actually only be 6 seats, and that's where, yeah, the VMF would fit in like that, but no longer. Other units that you can use. This is, again, a really cool vehicle just because when you upgrade it, you get quite a hefty bit of firepower and up armored as well. 65 points, you get a good vehicle that, again, you can just crash into the enemy's backline and hope for the best. But I prefer to do it with the Cossacks just, again, because of their speed. And the Machina, you don't need to use it when you've got a PRP-5K. But if you do use the PRP-5K in a different capacity, then by all means use the Machina with its exact same stats, apart from it's just way slower. Cool, that is the Recon tab done. So let's move on to Infantry. Right, I can't tell you how much I love the Moto Piechota AGS. This has been one of my favorite units. Now, you're going to find it under the PTO Metis unit, and all you got to do is upgrade it, massively upgrade it, because these two Metises, they don't do anything. That penetration is feeble. It struggles to kill anything, and the ATGM itself is so goddamn slow, like 500 speed. Compare that to the Cornet speed, oh, wrong button, of 720. I know it doesn't sound like a huge difference, but it really does matter, and you certainly feel it. Even the Concours is 720 as well, and that's a surprise, isn't it? So yeah, do not use the PTO Metis, use the Moto Piechota. It is so much better, great fire support, nice and cheap, gives 8 men as well, so it's a nice team, and you get 3 bazookas as well. So it's a bit of a long-range fire support team that can hold its ground, especially when you bring all 4 of these out. That's obviously 12 RPGs from multiple sides, and top armor potentially annihilating some tanks for sure. Really great squad. I've been spamming these out basically every game. At most maps it works fantastically well, and even if it doesn't work fantastically well, probably work above averagely well in some cases. Now, they are brought in, or all of these guys are brought in by 7 BTR 82s. Now, that is a little bit expensive on the excessive on the BTR front. I agree. Bear in mind, it's also obviously used to transport all of my Recon guys, so it's quite a few. But I think I like having an abundance. I like having a BTR 8280 ready at my fingertips. They're not that expensive. They do great firepower, and having those conkers is just a nice little touch. I do really appreciate that extra little touch there. So absolutely 100% worth up armoring these guys, because you do want them to withstand one hit from a Hellfire. Remember, Hellfire does 15 damage. So you want it to tank one hit, and then you smoke out and buzz off somewhere else. But taking that one hit is actually quite important, because it means that maybe your conkers might be able to finish firing. So 7 is a lot, but you know, feel free to stick other stuff in it. But I can't get enough of the BTRs. It's a great vehicle. People are saying for more firepower, subjectively, why don't you use the BMP-3? Well, firstly, you can't upgrade it to withstand to 16 HP to withstand a Hellfire, and secondly, yeah, like, this is better, there's no doubt about it, but to actually make it effective and have the jammer, which is really good, you make it more expensive, and it's just way slower. This is meant to be a mobile, quick, agile deck, and that's how I'd like to keep it. SPG-9 Sapog, fantastic. Have them in pairs because they just work better in every way, shape and form, but these are absolutely phenomenal for sitting in the back line and chipping away at frontline units. Obviously, try and use them at their max range at 1 km/800 meters. It's very nice and cheap. Just keep giving that extra fire support to your frontline units with these guys. Stick them in a high building and just let them shoot all day, because if the enemy wants to waste a bomb, it's only a 60-point unit, but the amount of it's not going to get a lot of kills, definitely not, but it's going to cause enemies to panic, cause those little bits of damage that prevent, you know, a 1 HP survival situation for the enemy. So really great squad. Before I brought the SSO in, I would have had 4 of these and no SSO, but now we're going 2 and 2. And whilst I'm on the topic of SSO, why don't we talk about them? It used to be that the standoff actually had 10 armor, which was obviously unfair, but it was just a legacy bug. Now, I've already mentioned this, they've reduced their price. It's only 10 points, but it's fairly significant. As a rusher, you don't want too many expensive squads, especially when both of these are anti-infantry. Like, you do have to bear in mind these are both anti-infantry, even though the cornet can actually do top damage to a tank, meaning that it can actually one-shot some tanks that have are either very thinly armored or have taken a hit already. So 15 damage is no joke in any way, shape or form, and again, if you're in a high building and you do top armor attack damage, which this does frequently, I find, then it works pretty well. But ultimately, you've got 2 very expensive anti-infantry squads, both in the standoff configuration. Do not use the Chorne against infantry inside a building. They will not do well. They will get absolutely hammered. Pretty much by any team with a shotgun is going to have these guys, so just don't do it. Just keep running away, or just get out the building. Just get these guys to fire at the building, but don't be inside the building. Now, obviously 12 men is quite a lot. I've got this transport for them, which can hold 14, but most of the time, this is only to put them into a tight hot spot. So a hot spot, obviously, where there's a lot of enemies already. Otherwise, just bring them in a transport vehicle or helicopter. No, you can't even fit it into a helicopter. Sorry, that's wrong. I don't have any supply helis here. So, yeah, just bring them in a transport safely behind, near the front line, but not quite on it, and fill this up with other troops as necessary. So there we go. Anti-infantry, anti-infantry, kind of anti-infantry as well. That is its main focus. Anti-both, and anti-tank. I mean, bear in mind again, we've said it already, there's plenty of anti-tank already in this deck, and it's all about being, you know, having overlapping fire and building up your position that way, as opposed to having, you know, being a reactive player that's only got an approach for one specific challenge. Morskaya Piechota is great. They are one of the best all-round infantries, without a shadow of doubt. Maybe Ranger Moors does that. Sorry, I mean Airborne Next Gen does that better. But otherwise, for 75 points, I'm tired. It's been a long day. I've been up since 5, boys. Just a really, really great team. I've got absolutely no complaints. It does the job. A little bit fragile. Bear in mind, again, you can fit 2 of those squads into here, so it's still quite a nice Easter egg if you want to bump it out like that. You know what? Actually, I might just sacrifice 1 BTR just for an extra 1 of these, just so again we can have these guys in 1 transport and these guys 2 of these in the other transport. So a nice, really beefy combo right there. Cornet. It's a cornet. They don't really track that well. It is just to take away the enemy's smokes, really. I don't really have much love for the cornet. It's good. It does the job. I think it's expensive for what it is. It gets heartied way too often. And it's just not really that good. Oh, by the way, if you're choosing between the Morskaya and the Moto Piechota, go for the Morskaya any day of the week. It is a much superior squad overall. Yeah, these two don't even compare. There's so many different things. Even though these have an extra man, there's so many things that Morskaya Piechota does much better. So go for them every day of the week. Cool. Any questions or anything you think is different, please let me know. I've seen some players start to use the coordinate steel key, which I find is kind of crazy. But yeah, weird. We've already touched upon the concours. It could be worth actually just using the concours instead of the cornet, just because of how dirt cheap it is. This is also actually probably a more commonly used way of it. But, you know, obviously there's only a few points difference there, so I will go for the cornet, but I don't think it's that effective for me or most players, really. Cool, moving on. And we're moving on to the worst section of this deck, and that is the armor. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with the T80 BVM. As you might have seen, I did the tank testing, and this will tank 3 shots before succumbing to enemy fire from the best American cannon in the game, which is the best cannon in the game overall for both factions. So 3 shots is generous. Obviously, those are 3 shots from the front, and there's a tiny bit of RNG involved there. But nonetheless, you've got 2 smokes, and it's a fairly capable-ish tank. You need some tanks in your deck, and whilst this doesn't really fill the gap that well at all, it's better than nothing. That's for sure. So yeah, that's the argument to be made for this guy. It's better than nothing. That is all it is. I wouldn't put this to fight any tanks, any American tanks toe to toe, really. Obviously, the striker can handle no problem, but anything thicker than that, I would just retreat. That it's not their fight. Their fight is just to give you a bit of tank support, not to fight other tanks. So it's an infantry tank in a way. You don't actually have to upgrade it because it still has 16 HP on this dirt cheap. 155 points is no joke. That is such great value for a tank that is pretty rapid, can do all this stuff, and has still got HE shells to annihilate infantry with. So if you want a dirt cheap anti-infantry tank, you may as well go for this. And actually, I'm thinking if my purpose is not to shoot at tanks at all, then why am I even bothering with this upgrade? Because, well, I suppose, yeah, as we've established, this makes it a 3-shot kill, and you do more damage than more penetration with this anti-tank shell, so I guess that makes it kind of worth it. Ah, yes, the other thing that I remembered is the fact that we've obviously got the B-Mop Taurus Repeater, a legendary unit that has HE shells already. So for a dirt cheap price of 150 points, you can have 3 100mm cannons firing at the enemy infantry, keeping them away. But what's better even yet is the Conquers, because you don't really use it to fend away tanks, you use it to fend away infantry. And these 5 rockets that spew out at infantry, they work very respectably well. They do good damage, and you just spam these vehicles out. They're very cheap. Do not upgrade them. It's one of the most pointless upgrades, I think, in the game, and it really doesn't help you achieve anything exceptional at all. Right, we're getting through it. Support tab next. Sorry, I am starting to feel my voice to go. Like I said, long day, up since 5 or 4, and I've been recording quite a few videos. Right, S300s are back with their one-shot ability, which is nice, and I think these do fairly well. There isn't really much difference in these two, apart from the hefty difference in price. So you're paying an extra 25% for this, but are you getting an extra 25% effectiveness out of it? In my eyes, no. 2,500 times 3, which is the radar range, is 7,500 meters. Obviously, if you subtract 150 times 3 from that, that is 450 meters less. I would argue 7.5 kilometers versus 7 kilometers is not that strategically important. Like, yeah, you're going to get missiles miss either way, but I'd rather have this cheaper and hopefully fire more missiles. So yeah, that's why it's a really, really good option. I actually do quite like this option with these missiles. I used to encourage it quite a lot because, again, the difference here is 150 meters. And you get the same benefits with the radar. But the problem I find with this is it's just too damn expensive. It used to be worth it when the range wasn't so depressingly low, but it's just too damn expensive. And these missiles work just as well. There's really not that much difference between them apart from, again, the price tag. But the range of this is obviously, you've now gone down to 5,850 kilometers. So yeah, not even 6, which means that you can get artied pretty much without even firing at planes. So that's why I've gone for 2 of these instead, and plus I honestly didn't have a space up there for this guy at all. So that's the other strategic decision that we've had to make there. But AA is effective at farming kills, and you absolutely have to have 2 of them in your deck. I actually don't even have space, which I find almost criminal, for the almighty Berg. All praise. The Berg is, honestly, it's a one-hit wonder. It doesn't one-shot tanks, helicopters, unfortunately, but it can two-shot quite a few of them. But most of the time it's 3, and of course sometimes 4 with a bit of RNG as well. So, Mighty Berg is unreal. I can't get enough of it. The only thing is that the Asa is the best Russian Shorad, especially for the price. And yeah, it'd be absolutely rude not to take this, especially when its price is 140 and the Berg is 80. So a difference of 60 points, but this is definitely twice as effective as the Berg. And it can quite happily one-shot quite a lot of helicopters, and I've seen it do that on many occasions. The most satisfying part is when you one-shot a Comanche, because that is just lovely to see. This is, without a shadow of doubt, what I was going to say one of the best. It is, without a shadow of doubt, the best, most cost-effective Shorad in the game. So it's absolutely criminal not to take these. If you're playing Coastal, if anything else, you must absolutely use the Berg for Shorad. Unless you've got Pansirs, in which case I'll let you off. But 2,400 meter range without radar is insane, and it can actually shoot down planes at 1,350 meters as well. And I've seen clips of people doing that, so it's really impressive. What I've gone for instead of the almighty Berg or Praise is the Birusa with radar, and essentially the purpose of this guy is to be a meat shield for him, to soak up the seed and essentially just have a good time. And this vehicle does this job super duper effectively. The only time it really dies to seed is desync, which is obviously really irritating. It's bollocks, but it's broken arrow. What can you expect? So when you have this thing, say there's only 1 seed plane, it fires both its missiles at this and 2 missiles elsewhere, of course. But at least you've got this to distract it now, so that the other one can shoot down the plane. So it's really effective, and it's just a lot more successful to have one of these just cheap units, 6-minute respawn timer, to absorb the flak ahead of your main AA battery. Let's talk about supply. This is the URL 5323. I don't see much point taking this URL at all. This has more seats, it's faster, and it has more supply. Great idea to start using these again. I encourage everyone to stop using the abundance of BTRs. It's just not as effective as it used to be. Still good though, of course. And just use these supply trucks with 24 men inside ideally. Now, what happens here is great because if you can obviously drop all that manpower to the front lines, that's 4 squads that you can get in, 5 squads actually quite comfortably, and yeah, just drop these guys to the front line, but on your way, make sure you drop your supply for your AA or your MLRS. So it's a win-win-win-win. Don't lose these because they're actually quite expensive. I mean, an SPG-9 Sapog is cheaper than this unit. Kind of crazy, but it's very, very good. Do not do this because you'll lose all of your supply features, and the 12 HP damage is really pointless. Moving on to the arty, although this is a mortar, you've got 9 shells here, and we've got some HE harassing shells. You can go for the extended range, and laser guided is okay, but you lose the smoke, and you need smoke for some very open positions of some maps. So you always got to have some smoke in your deck. The Niner does this job pretty damn well, I'd say. Not much reason to upgrade its armor. Actually, no reason, because it gets significantly slower by 10 kilometers an hour, sorry. So yeah, just keep it as cheap as possible. It works an absolute treat. Now you could say you could smoke grad for 100 points. Very reasonable argument, but I just don't think so. I really love the high explosive warheads just because, firstly, it looks unreal when you're firing, especially when you're firing 2, 3 or 4 of them with your teammates into position. It looks spectacular. Secondly, it is actually really effective, not only in hitting supply, but also in making enemy infantry panic, and that is good because it prevents them from getting into the supply because all the units are panicked and crawling. Of course, they can sprint, but yeah, you get what I'm trying to say. The cluster warhead used to be insanely good, but its effectiveness has been halved, so there's not really much point bringing this in anymore. Incendiary, getting better at that, is just pathetic now. It's also quite expensive and really not worth it because the fire gets put out pretty quickly. You rarely actually catch units out of place. The Tornado. Now, the mighty Tornado, the subject of many a fanboy's videos and aspirations. Just a really cool bit of kit. Does a lot of damage. It has really good range. You know how saying that, the S350 is within range of this, but can't shoot down a plane? Well, yeah, that's pretty ridiculous, isn't it? You can fire this pretty much from spawn, fire almost immediately, RTB, saving yourself quite a lot of money, and you don't get as much income tax if you do that. Same with the grad, just spawn it in, fire, return to base. There's not much point sitting around resupplying these things, especially with how slow resupply is these days. 40 seconds per rocket, that is kind of crazy, and it's going to eat through your supplies as well. So just fire and RTB, that's the best way forward. Are there any honorable mentions? Yeah, there is just this one, and if you put it like this, and if you want to do cheeky Lima specials into the spawn, this works fantastically well. But otherwise, no, that's pretty much it for the support tab. Let's move on to talking about helicopters instead. Right, so we are starting off with the Katran. Now you can see the Katran is the seed version, but he's also got rockets on him, so, put this in, try and do a bit of damage, get out. But ideally you want to be holding fire to release it as late as possible and do damage to the enemy. This is, in this configuration, it is basically an anti-helicopter first, that it's its primary focus, but again, same sort of principle. These S-13s are phenomenal. They can rip tanks to shreds. They just work great. So yeah, something to bear in mind there. Anti-seed, anti-helicopter, helicopter, and this is the sort of all-rounder. So 120 points is dirt cheap for the amount of firepower you get. Not only do you get a cannon, you also get the S8s, which are great against light targets, Kokons, which again, great against light targets, and you still get a bit of Igla as well in there. For 120 points is kind of insanely cheap. But also you only get 5% ECM, so I guess it's all fair love and war. You can potentially swap it out with the Phantom, but I don't like that this gun is fixed. It's a phenomenal gun, don't get me wrong. It does a lot of damage, it's really great, but it's just a ball ache that you have to twist the whole helicopter to get it into position. This Mi-24 K, the Recon version, is just great because it is so goddamn cheap. I can't get over how cheap it is. It's yeah, just insane how cheap that is. Essentially, you put this into the back of the enemy helicopter spawn, which we've done quite a few times with my teammates on the channel, and you cause havoc. You really cause havoc. The enemy doesn't know how to deal with it for a short while, that's for sure, but it's just really, really brutal. You rip apart the enemy like there's no tomorrow, up until they notice you and get the planes out, of course, but that's a story for a different time. So there we go, that is the helicopter tab for us. Time to talk about the air tab. So look, we already mentioned this at the start. This thing is going to bomb you, so if you can't beat him, join him. Big boy bombs, 1,500 kilos, because obviously Russian do it in kilos, not pounds. So they're humongous bombs. You get 8 of them. You just need to kill 1 tank and you're close to being even already, and then just literally 1 other unit and you've almost guaranteed to make your money back. Obviously not quite, but close enough. So very, very fantastic unit. Now it of course needs to be seeded beforehand. You need to seed the field, clear it of all AA, and that's what the Su-24, super cool plane. What do we talk about? Swept wing designs, FGR4 Tornado. That's what we're into. Good stuff. So bit of seed there. Don't put the rockets on it. They're just never going to be effective. Su-24. Okay, so this Su-24 M2 is for clusters and fire. I feel like I use it for fire more these days, but burning infantry is really satisfying. Unlike the Grad, these bombs actually do last for a very, very long time, and the burn stays it is in a much larger area for a much longer period of time. So it is pretty damn cool overall. Really great plane. Clusters, 6 big boy clusters are fantastic against vehicles. They really do the job. MiG-29 is our cheap fighter. I think it's a good idea to do this, but I cannot afford. Unless, hold on, I can find 35 points to salvage somewhere. Yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a Kozlik. Yeah, we can salvage 1 just to get an extra couple of missiles, which means that they will fire faster. Now, you're not really spoiled for choice with the air tab. You do have some seed here as well. There we go, anti-radiation. There you go. But as you can see, it's a little bit expensive compared to this one. Even though, of course, you do get 4 rockets instead of 2. Another massively honourable mention is the Vickers with its strike ability. I do find it just way too slow though, and usually it does get shot down before reaching its objective. Ergo, not that effective even if it is actually quite cheap on paper. So yeah, 305 points is how you guys want to run it. It's a really lovely plane. Su-33 is great for this cheesy tactic of having HE on it only. Now you go low altitude, afterburners pop up and drop 2,400 kilo bombs on the enemy, and it is actually quite a significant amount of damage, so I highly recommend doing that as well. 210 points, you really can't go wrong, can you? So yeah, fair enough. So this is the air tab, and this has been a review of my deck overall. I'm absolutely shattered, might go for a nap, but hey, as long as you guys enjoy it, then that's all the happiness I need. So please do like, comment, subscribe, all the usual good stuff to help me out and keep me entertained. Are you not entertained? Said Gladiator. So yeah, this deck is great. I hope you enjoy using it. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye bye. Do you have really slow internet? Well, I used to, and it was really painful, especially when uploading videos, but I've just recently got Starlink, and it's actually really good. Can highly recommend it. Here's the speeds, you can see the comparison. And if you want a free month, and you give me a free month as well, then yeah, click on my description, link in the description below. Cheers.